So the first question that I would love to get input about is I know we talked about this a bit. One of the questions that got like 26 upvotes, I think, at the beginning was how important domain knowledge is. And our generalist PMs kind of like no longer appealing. So whoever has strong opinions about that one, feel free to chime in.
I actually do still think domain knowledge is very important. I think you are at an interesting time though, where if you're trying to get domain experience in a new industry where you do not have it, I would consider that you like use AI to build something and launch it and use that on your resume as a way to break into that industry. I think when you're early career, like a generalist PM is totally okay. But as you continue to get more experience, you're typically, when you're hiring for like an L4, L5 level, is you're looking for somebody that has like consumer experience. And so I would say like, and maybe this is advice for everyone, especially if you're early career, is just teach yourself AI and by launching something. And then you can use that project as a way to be like, yeah, actually I worked at this company, but I also built my own thing. And here's what I learned. And that is now easier than ever. And I think is going to start to become a really great way for people to break into PM generally, if you're not already a PM, or break into new industries if you don't have experience.
Plus one, everything Nikki said. No notes.
One thing I would say though is, now PMs have the tools to put to life like anything. And so follow your curiosity. Like I feel like a lot of people are just applying to roles. Like when I talk, I coach people on the side on intro. So if you're interested, by the way, feel free to look at my LinkedIn on basically your strategy on your finding a role. And I think that most of the people I talk to had do the same mistake. They just blast apply 50,000 application a day. They track that on a spreadsheet and they get like 10% conversion to first round. And it's very demotivating. I would actually take a completely different approach in this market. Follow your curiosity. When you open startups, like go to WellFound, which has all the startups. So go to AWC, A16Z or other Sequoia website. Look at the portfolio companies and generally look at what they're doing and see what your body is telling you. What are you interested in? What do you want to learn more? Where would you work for free? And then take the product and use the product sense and be like, hey, what's going on here? What are the problems they're trying to solve? What would I do differently? What is a bad decision? And I would even message somebody in the company and be like, hey, I've actually don't think this makes sense to me. Or write a post on LinkedIn about it, tag the CEO. I've done this before. And just publish something, maybe like a link, that about a prototype. So I do think like being a generalist is powerful in this market. You can actually, if you're interested in something new that you've never touched on, you can actually become interesting you can actually be hired for that because of the tools and what I just said.
Awesome. I think this panel could not be complete without spending some time talking about AI. And I think one of the questions that I think I'd be interested in get your thoughts about is, maybe each of you can share one tip or one specific area that you have an opinion about where if you were a candidate in the current job market where you might be leveraging AI the most across like the spectrum of what we discussed, like where do you think AI could be most helpful to candidates in um, getting success as a candidate, not as a product manager on their current job?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. I think that interview prep, use your LLM as, hey, I'm trying to interview for this position. Dump the JD, dump your resume into the LLM, and then ask, hey, prepare me for this interview. And then it would ask you questions. And then you can even use your voice. Actually, it's even better. You can be on the go. You can be at the gym, actually. You can go on a walk. And you just try to answer questions, prep that way. That is going to be really helpful. The other thing that I had recommend is for the prototypes and things like that. There's a ton of tools, but they're like, whenever you can even start prototyping on Claude.ai. Actually, you don't even need to go to Cursor and like start simple, right? Be like, I'm actually trying to put something on paper, even take a picture, put it in an LLM and be like, hey, make this a prototype or something, and then refine it and ask questions. So if you don't know anything about AI, start there. And then always go back to not just a prototype for ideas. Like one thing I've seen a lot is like some people, yes, knock it out of the park, send me like incredible designs, but I still don't understand what you're trying to solve, and why, and what metric and how you're measuring this. So, yes, for product sense, yes, for prototyping, but not just go crazy, right? And like, as a PM, you're not going to be able to revamp the entire UI. It takes X million resources to do so. So actually making sure the less is more. Like, why this one thing? So I usually like to see a PM tell me, I actually like made a decision to only change this because of X, Y, Z. But this is all the exploration I did. But this is a decision. And sometimes it's just one button, it's small things, right? And that's what I pay attention to versus a revamp, right? Like, hey, I revamped your app. It's like, great. So that's another thing I would say.
Cool. Thank you. Nikki, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only build there is, again, like you can use AI to teach you AI, and the best way to learn AI is just by building a thing and shipping it. And so there's actually, I saw there's like something called, it's the Idea Browser or something. It's this guy who launched this website where it's just a bunch of free ideas that you can pick one and then build something in the space. And he wants people to make billions of dollars. But this could also be a great place to get a good idea. If you don't have the ideas, build a thing, ship it, get 2 users, even one person, it could be your mom, to use it. And you probably have learned more than you would in an intern job somewhere else. And so I think if you can make time to do that on the side while you're interviewing, and I know that applying for jobs is often a full-time job, but if you can carve out like 20% to also become fluent in AI, I think it'll help you a ton, and it'll just give you more context and be able to, I think you'll just ace your interview because you kind of understand where the entire industry is headed. And then also Chantel said this, but I think voice mode in GPT and just like interviewing with GPT and just talking a lot out loud is just going to help you get really good at that. And then when you actually have your interview, you're going to ace it.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
No, I don't have too much to add because I actually think interviewing, ideation, and then like just building and validating really are the best ways to use it these days. Yeah, I did. So yeah, actually, I guess I will say from an interview perspective, like you can tell them, like, give me like a 6-week, plan. Basically, tell me how to be interview ready within 6 weeks for this interview, and it will like break it out and give you prompts and let you coach and everything. So it's like a full plan that you could get from it. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, Stephanie, you mentioned earlier that I think I heard you mention that is it anecdotal that you're hearing some interviewers mention that candidates are using LLMs or using AI during interviews, and they're not like hiding that well because it's like obvious to the interviewers? Is that what I heard?
They seem like they're reading and like pausing to type, basically. And I've heard that like from a few recruiters. And I asked them, I was like, well, what's the protocol here? Like, how do we assess whether this is how they communicate, or maybe they're looking at their notes, which I think is actually fine, versus like using, AI for responses. And they're like, well, this is starting to happen, but we don't even have a good protocol. We don't know yet.
Can I add?
Chantal, I saw you unmuted. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to, because I do think it's very important to what Stephanie's saying, because one thing that happened to me in the past is like we brought candidates to onsite because that was right at the beginning of the LLMS fight, and we were like, wow, this person's killing it. And then at the end of the process, you're like seeing some weird red flags. So this is new things that we've seen, or like one thing I would say is if you get a job, right, and you use LLM and they didn't catch you, but you still have to perform at that job. So it's not in your interest either to overly index on LLMs, even if you kind of go through the process and are able to land there. Because I do think we're in a weird moment where hiring managers, to Stephanie's point, are like, we don't have the protocol yet, and some people may be really good, right? But then if you start a job and are not performing, you'll be out of a job very soon. So that's not good for you either. So I just wanted to say that leverage LLMs, yes, but be careful with how much you rely on that. And then also say I had a couple of calls where it made no sense. Like I had they were reading, I think, but I was like, what? Like I was like, so what are the levers that you would evaluate? And then they said something, I was like, what? Like it was literally made no sense, and that was automatic decline for me. So if you use LLMs and you actually screw up, just so you know, it's really gonna not be a good thing for you. So just say, be careful.